feel like one of these guys could help them out as a developmental quarterback, or if, in the case of Ty Simpson, they felt that he had higher upside than Shedeur Sanders.
Oh, really?
That would be the case if you were going after a Ty Simpson, who I think would be drafted much higher than those other guys.
Ashamed of yourself. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for how you moving out here, Mary Kay Cabot. You try to call Jarvis Landry a liar as if you're in the locker room and in the meetings and he wasn't.
I really don't think they're going to do that. I think they're more willing to give Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson a chance to battle this out and then come back at it next year and try to get a quarterback in that class if they still need one. I don't think they're going to draft Ty Simpson, but it's just something that I would think about doing if I didn't absolutely
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Mary Kay Cabot really jumped on live radio and said, with full confidence, no hesitation, no, maybe I'm overthinking this energy, that the Cleveland Browns should draft Ty Simpson with the 6th overall pick in the NFL draft. Not a joke, not a hot take for clicks, not even a let me play devil's advocate real quick. Nah, this was a straight-faced, real-deal suggestion that had people blinking like their Wi-Fi just cut out mid-sentence. You could almost hear the confusion through the speakers. Her co-host didn't even jump in right away. They just sat there like, wait, did she actually say that out loud? Because we're talking about using a top 6 pick on a quarterback, instead of giving the job to the guy who's been grinding in that facility every single morning all winter.
Ashamed of yourself. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for how you moving out here, Mary Kay Cabot. You try to call Jarvis Landry a liar as if you're in the locker room and in the meetings and he wasn't. You did all that. We know you are one of the leaders of the Anybody But Shedeur Mafia. You were one of the people who were on camera saying he never needed to play for the Cleveland Browns and he can start his career elsewhere. You said that. Now, because you didn't get any of the 8 quarterbacks you was praying that would come in and take over the starting job for the Cleveland Browns, and you're stuck between Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders, and Shedeur Sanders clearly has the leg up on the quarterback 1 race. You have now stooped to
the same Shedeur Sanders who's been showing up like he's got a key card and a personal parking spot already reserved. And here's where it gets funny. Not ha-ha funny, but oh, this is about to go left funny. Because the Shedeur Sanders supporters, oh, they didn't waste time. Within hours, it was over. Receipts pulled, clips posted, timeline fully documented like a true crime episode. People were rolling back statements like they were reviewing game film. And suddenly Mary Kay Cabot, yes, the same reporter who once called Jarvis Landry a liar, who said Shedeur Sanders didn't even need to play in Cleveland, who spent months hyping up every quarterback option except the one already in the building, found herself doing the fastest backpedal of the offseason. Less than 24 hours later, boom, walked it back. Live, on record, no filter, no edit button. That wasn't a correction. That was instant regret in HD. Let's be real for a second. This wasn't just one bad take. This wasn't someone misspeaking or getting caught in the moment. This was part of a pattern. A 6-month-long campaign of anybody but Shedeur Sanders energy.
I know he loves football, and I know that's what I love as well. Super smart guy. Remember him coming to my school at Georgia. Him and my dad actually have a great relationship because he coached at Southern Miss for a little bit. And his pedigree with all the NFL teams that he's been with, and what he did with Lamar and at Georgia, it's just super real. So a lot of respect for him and the Browns organization. I think they made a great hire.
Every week, it's a new name, a new option, a new what if we just scenario designed to create doubt where there really shouldn't be any. And this time, she went too far with it. Because suggesting Ty Simpson at number 6, that's not just questionable. That's the kind of take that makes fans look at each other like, all right, what are we doing here? That's not even disrespectful in a subtle way. That's loud, obvious, and impossible to defend. And the fans? Oh, they were ready this time. They didn't scroll past it. They didn't ignore it. They applied pressure immediately. No delay, no hesitation. This wasn't just disagreement. This was a full-on reality check. And here's the part that really flips the whole situation. For the first time all offseason, that pushback actually worked. It forced Mary Kay to say the words nobody expected her to say out loud. She was wrong. Not hinted at, not implied. Actually said it. And the moment she said it, everything she had been building narrative-wise just folded like a bad hand in poker.
Pretty much everyone is going to be there, especially on the offensive side of the ball, because they all know that they're installing a new scheme. They've got a long way to go. and they have a brand new head coach that they have to impress and get to know. So I think anybody that doesn't show up on the offensive side of the ball is really going to be remiss and behind the eight ball and having a lot of catching up to do. So I can't imagine anybody just deciding not to come to these volunteers.
Because once you walk back a take like that, you don't just lose that argument. You lose credibility on the entire storyline that led you there. That maybe Shedeur isn't the guy angle. Gone. That let's keep exploring other options energy. Gone. Because now people are looking at every previous take like, wait, were we supposed to take that seriously too? And the craziest part? She said it herself. I wouldn't mind seeing them draft Ty Simpson at 6. I could change my mind next week. Changed her mind in less than a week. Actually, not even 24 hours. That's not evolution of thought. That's damage control. And let's be clear, the football argument didn't suddenly change overnight. Ty Simpson didn't wake up and become a top 6 lock. There was no breaking news, no hidden tape, no secret scouting report that flipped everything upside down. The only thing that changed was the reaction.
And that's very significant because the race, I think, really begins in learning the playbook. I think that's going to be the differentiator in this quarterback competition is who can really assimilate Todd Monken's new scheme.
That backlash hit different. It made it impossible to stand on that take anymore. And that's the difference between analysis and getting cooked. Because what we saw wasn't someone refining their opinion. That was someone realizing they pushed a narrative too far and had to hit reverse quick. Now let's talk about why that original suggestion didn't just miss. It missed bad. The Cleveland Browns are sitting at pick number 6. They already have Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback who finished the season as the starter. Not only that, he won 2 divisional games. That's not nothing. That's actual production in real situations. And while all this noise has been going on, what's Shedeur been doing? Showing up every morning. No drama, no distractions, just putting in work like someone who already knows the assignment. Meanwhile, you've got Deshaun Watson still in the picture. A player who hasn't played meaningful football in nearly 2 years and is sitting on the final stretch of a $46 million contract. So with all of that context, the suggestion was to bring in a third quarterback with a top 6 pick? Not because there's a once-in-a-generation talent sitting there, not because the roster is missing a key piece, but because there's still resistance to the idea of Shedeur Sanders being that guy.
I think in phase 2, they'll have a much better idea because they can be hands-on in phase 2, which starts after this 2-week period.
Gotcha.
That is a 3-week period that comes before the next phase 3, which is OTAs and the final minicamp. But they should get a pretty good handle on it. And then the other thing about this particular season is the fact that they have an extra bonus voluntary minicamp, and that is happening April 21st through the 23rd. And you can pretty much do anything that you can do at a regular minicamp in that bonus voluntary minicamp. So I think they should have a pretty good idea of what Deshaun, Shedeur, Dylan are capable of and what those guys look like in this new scheme.
And that's where everything clicks. Because at that point, it's no longer about football. It's about preference. It's about narrative. It's about trying to keep a door open that's already starting to close. And here's the part nobody in real scouting circles is going to co-sign. Nobody is taking Ty Simpson top 6. Not because he's a bad player. That's not the point. It's because the value doesn't match the situation. Especially when you already have someone on your roster outperforming the exact standards you'd use to justify drafting a quarterback that high. And deep down, Mary Kay knew that. That's why the walk back came so fast. Now let's really break down how she walked it back, because that tells you everything. She didn't say, hey, I got the evaluation wrong. Nope. She didn't say new information changed my perspective. Not that either. Instead, it was all about soft exits. I got annihilated. I could change my mind next week. I wasn't 100% committed to it. That's not standing on your take. That's building escape routes in real time. And after laying all that groundwork, she quietly slid back to the position that lines up with what the organization is probably going to do anyway, which makes the whole thing even clearer.
Something? Are you on something? Are you that sick about Shedeur Sanders? Do you have that much hate? Or are you on something? I just got to ask. This don't make no sense. Nobody in the world would take Ty Simpson in the top 6 picks of the draft. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Let's take a listen, man. This is straight up foolishness, straight up nonsense, and the hate is real. Some people can't hide the hate, and when they do, they can only do it but for so long. She can't.
This wasn't about discovering the right answer. This was about realizing the original take couldn't survive the spotlight. And once that spotlight hit, it was over. So after all that chaos, all that noise, all that "let's draft Ty Simpson at 6" energy, what actually happened? Reality stepped in. And suddenly the tone changed, real quick. Mary Kay Cabot ended up saying what should have been said from the very beginning. The Cleveland Browns are more willing to let Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson battle it out. Straight up. No shortcuts, no panic moves, no reaching for a third quarterback like it's a clearance sale. And here's the wild part. She admitted that in the same conversation where she floated the Ty Simpson idea. That's like saying, yeah, we're good with what we have, but also let's replace it immediately. That's not strategy, and that's confusion with confidence. Because let's be serious. The Browns are not drafting Ty Simpson at number 6. That was never happening. Not in this timeline, not in any timeline.
That's just the order of operations. But I don't necessarily think that means that Deshaun wouldn't have a great opportunity then to beat him out for the job. I think it's going to be a true competition. I think they want both guys and Dylan Gabriel to a certain extent, at least right now, to bring out the best in each other. And that's what competition does. If you keep the heat under all of them, then you are going to get guys working their tails off. And that is what.
And they're definitely not about to mess up a quarterback competition they've spent the entire offseason building brick by brick. This isn't some random QB room thrown together last week. This is something they've been setting up carefully. And right when it's starting to take shape, you're going to throw in a brand new piece that doesn't even fit the puzzle? Nah, that doesn't make sense. And after all the fan pressure came crashing in, Mary Kay finally said the quiet part out loud. The truth. The same truth that's been sitting there the whole time like, y'all just going to ignore me or what? But here's where it gets deeper than just one bad take or one quick walk back. Because this isn't new behavior. This is a pattern. A full-on rotation of next guy up narratives that keep popping up every time Shedeur Sanders starts gaining real momentum. Let's run it back real quick. At one point, it was Kyler Murray. Oh yeah, he might end up in Cleveland. That didn't happen. Then it was Anthony Richardson. That's the answer right there. Nope, not that either. Then came Malik Willis. He could be the solution. Still no. After that, J.J. McCarthy was inevitable. That didn't last long either. One by one, these names showed up, got hyped, got pushed, and then quietly disappeared like they were never supposed to be there in the first place. And every single time, the Browns stayed right where they were, leaning toward Shedeur Sanders. Now we've reached the point where the next option is Ty Simpson, a college quarterback who hasn't even taken meaningful NFL snaps yet. And even that idea couldn't survive 24 hours. Fans shut it down so fast it barely had time to trend. That's not just a rejection, that's a signal. Because when every alternative keeps falling apart, eventually you have to look at what's still standing. And right now, that's Shedeur Sanders. Now here's where things get really interesting.
But I did mention that, I wouldn't mind seeing them draft Ty Simpson there. And again, I told them I could change my mind on this next week because I'm still doing my due diligence on all of this. But just hear me out very briefly on this. The reason why I said that is because first-round picks usually have a hit rate of about 50%.
While all this was happening, while Mary Kay was out here suggesting drafting another quarterback, she also said something on air that completely flipped the entire conversation. And she probably didn't even realize it. Because when she was asked about the QB competition, what matters, what separates the players, who actually has the edge going into spring, she tried to stay neutral, tried to sound balanced, tried to give a safe, analytical answer. But instead, she accidentally delivered the strongest endorsement of Shedeur Sanders' offseason that Cleveland media has put out all year. She said, "The differentiator is who can assimilate Todd Monken's scheme quickly, not be thinking, just reacting, playing fast and strong. That's the test. That's the standard. That's what decides who wins the job." And now ask yourself, who does that description actually fit? The guy who's been in the building every morning? The guy building chemistry with the coaching staff? The guy sitting in Todd Monken's office breaking down the system? The guy putting in voluntary work that somehow nobody wanted to report on? Or the guy who's been, let's say, less visible during that same stretch? Because when you lay it out like that, it's not even a debate anymore. Shedeur Sanders is literally checking every box that was just described, without forcing it, without hype, just showing up and doing the work. And then, she added another line that made things even more obvious. She said, anyone on the offensive side who doesn't show up is behind the 8 ball. Now hold on, pause right there. Because that statement, that's not complicated. That's as clear as it gets. If you're not there, you're behind. Simple. But here's where the contradiction hits hard. Because in that same conversation, she's downplaying the absence of other players, saying it's not a big deal, it's voluntary. It doesn't matter that much. So which one is it? Are you behind if you're not there? Or is it no big deal? You can't have both. That's not balance. That's mixed signals. And it gets even wilder when you stack everything together. On one side, you got Shedeur Sanders, showing up every day, putting in work, preparing for the system, building relationships. On the other side, you got absence being excused, minimized, brushed off. And then in the middle of all that, there's a suggestion to draft another quarterback at number 6. That's not subtle. That's not layered analysis. That's contradiction happening in real time. And the craziest part? You don't even have to dig deep to see it. It's all right there. Same conversation. Sometimes back-to-back answers. One sentence supports Shedeur Sanders. The next one ignores everything that supports him. That's why this moment matters more than just the Ty Simpson take. Because it exposed everything at once. The pattern, the bias, the shifting logic, all of it. And once people saw it clearly, there was no putting it back together like before. Because now every statement gets looked at a little differently. Every take gets questioned a little more. Now let's zoom all the way out for a second. Because what just happened with Mary Kay Cabot and that Ty Simpson take, that wasn't just about one bad suggestion getting shut down. Nah, that was 6 months of buildup finally crashing all at once. This was pressure that had been stacking, and then boom, it hit a point where the take was just too wild to survive. Ty Simpson at number 6 wasn't just questionable. It was the moment the whole anybody but Shedeur Sanders storyline completely overplayed its hand. Because if we're being honest, every previous name that got pushed at least had some kind of surface-level logic attached to it. Not saying it was correct, but you could see how someone might try to sell it. When Kyler Murray was brought up, the angle was proven veteran, dynamic playmaker. You could package that. When Anthony Richardson came into the conversation, it was high upside, elite athletic traits, future star potential. Again, you could frame that. Malik Willis? Developmental talent, maybe needs the right system. Sure, people tried it. J.J. McCarthy? Winning pedigree, big game experience, and IOM. That one had its moment too. Every single one of those names came with a storyline. A narrative. Something you could at least present like it made sense, even if the Browns themselves were quietly moving in a completely different direction. But Ty Simpson at number 6? There's no spin for that. No angle. No clean way to dress that up and make it sound like a smart football move. You're talking about drafting a developmental quarterback with a top 6 pick on a team that already has a developmental quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, who literally finished last season as the starter. Not only that, he's been in the building since December, working, learning, building chemistry, preparing like someone who already knows the spotlight is coming. So how do you justify bringing in another project at that level? You don't. You can't. The math doesn't work. The timeline doesn't work. The logic doesn't work. Nothing about that equation adds up. And the fans? Oh, they saw all of it at the same time. This wasn't one angle getting exposed. This was every angle getting shut down simultaneously. People were breaking it down from roster construction, draft value, team direction, locker room dynamics, everything. It was like watching a take get hit from every direction at once. No escape route, no safe corner, well, maybe if you look at it this way. Nah, it was done. And while all that was happening, there was another layer that made this even more undeniable. The players themselves had already spoken. Myles Garrett said Shedeur Sanders is the guy. Denzel Ward backed that up. Quinn Jenkins said it. Malachi Corley said it too. That's not rumor. That's not speculation. That's players putting their names on it, on camera, in public. That's the locker room speaking. And remember, Todd Monken already made it clear that this is what matters. The belief inside the building, the trust between players, the energy in that locker room. That's what decides quarterback competitions in real life, not hypothetical draft scenarios. So when Mary Kay threw out the Ty Simpson idea, what she was really doing, whether she meant to or not, was asking the Browns to ignore all of that. Ignore the work Shedeur Sanders has put in. Ignore the progress. Ignore the locker room support. Ignore the direction the team has been quietly moving toward, and replace it with a move that nobody inside the building had been building toward. That's why the reaction was so strong. That's why fans didn't hesitate. Because the take didn't just miss. It clashed with everything that's actually happening. And let's be real, the fans cooked that take because it deserved to be cooked. No sugarcoating, no overthinking. That was one of those moments where the response matched the situation perfectly. And what came right after? That instant regret. Honestly, that might have been the most real, most unfiltered moment Mary Kay Cabot has had all off-season. Because for once, there was no long explanation, no drawn-out defense, no attempt to reshape the narrative over time. It was immediate, straight to the point, walked back. Same radio station, same format, same co-hosts, no escape from it. And just like that, the take was gone. Not because the football world suddenly changed overnight, not because new information dropped, but because accountability showed up faster than the narrative could keep up. That's the key. The reaction didn't give the take time to breathe. It didn't give it space to evolve into something else. It got shut down before it could settle. And here's what that moment really confirmed. The anybody but Shedeur Sanders playbook, it's out of options. Let's run the scoreboard one more time. Kyler Murray, gone. Anthony Richardson, gone. Malik Willis, gone. J.J. McCarthy, gone. Ty Simpson, lasted less than 24 hours. That's not a rotation anymore. That's a pattern running out of road. 6 months of trying to build a case against Shedeur Sanders, and the final argument was use a top 6 pick on a project quarterback. Mary Kay said it herself. No spin, no guessing, no reading between the lines, needed this time. The Cleveland Browns are going to let Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson battle it out. Straight up, fair competition, no shortcuts, no panic moves. That's the reality now. After all the noise, all the debates, all the what if they bring in this guy conversations, it comes right back to what should have been obvious from the start. And then she doubled down on the part that really matters. She said QB1 is going to be decided by 3 things. Who learns Todd Monken's system the fastest? Who the team actually believes in? And who shows up when the lights are on and the game is on the line? Simple checklist, right? Sounds fair. Sounds logical. Sounds like exactly how it should be decided. But here's where it gets interesting. Because when you actually apply that checklist to what's been happening over the last few months, it starts pointing in one direction real quick. The player who's been in the building since December, the player putting in work when nobody's watching, the player building chemistry with coaches and teammates day after day. That's not speculation. That's Shedeur Sanders checking boxes in real time. And the wild part? The same reporter who spent 6 months questioning that, downplaying it, looking for every possible alternative around it, just accidentally confirmed it on live radio. Not planned, not scripted, just slipped out while trying to stay neutral. And that's when you know it's real. Because sometimes the most honest moments aren't the ones people prepare. It's the ones that come out when they're trying not to say too much. Now think about everything that led up to this. 6 months of searching for the next option. 6 months of pushing different names. 6 months of trying to keep the door open for literally anyone else. And after all of that, it still comes back to the same place. Shedeur Sanders versus Deshaun Watson. That's the battle. That's the reality. No Ty Simpson at 6. No last-minute surprise. No emergency replacement plan. Just the guy who's been putting in the work versus the guy trying to get back to his level. And now we're about to get actual answers, because the next phase is here. OTAs, real reps, real snaps, real distribution of opportunity. And that's where everything gets exposed. Who's getting first-team reps? Who's running the offense with confidence? Who looks comfortable? And who looks like they're still thinking instead of reacting? That's where all the talk turns into something you can actually see. And if what the Browns have been quietly building behind the scenes is real, if everything they've been signaling since the Ty Simpson take got shut down is legit, then those reps are about to tell the whole story. No more guessing, no more narratives, just football. So now it's on you. What do you think? Was that Ty Simpson at number 6 suggestion the most desperate, anybody but Shedeur Sanders take we've seen all offseason? Or do you think there was an even worse one that somehow flew under the radar? Because let's be honest, it's been a long offseason and there's been no shortage of wild takes. But that one might have set the bar. Drop your thoughts. Let it fly. Because this conversation is only getting started. And once those OTA practices hit full speed, we're not going to have to guess anymore.